Are you tired of wasting time on entertainment that doesn't bring you a sense of community? Do you feel like people are trying to force you to take a side in this silly culture war? Does your media have you feeling too conservative, too woke, too religious, too heathenous, not enough whatever, like a freak? That's because you're not a caricature. You're a real person. You're messy, and you don't fit into a box. Good news, we're freaks too.
Would you like to melt your stress away? Get connected to a community of other misfits? Maybe listen to the misfits? Stop feeling like a lonely outsider surrounded by people trying to enlist you in a war you want no part of. Become a contented member of a community that requires only that you live your best life and leave others to live theirs.
Feel a sense of belonging while opting out of the culture war. This is Peace Freqs. All right, everyone, welcome to episode number 108 of Peace Freqs. I am Nikki P, here as always with my lovely wife and co-host Lizzie. How are we doing today, babe?
Pretty awesome.
It's been a day full of doing stuff for the podcast.
It has, but good stuff and together stuff, and I like that stuff. So there you go.
We are here on our, we'll just say, off day. Is it ever really an off day when you have hours and hours and hours of work to do, trying to make something happen outside of your day job? I don't know.
I mean, I guess it depends on how much you like that other stuff you're doing.
I do enjoy doing it. It gets a little clerical at times, which I'm not sure how much I enjoy, but a little bit.
There you go.
What did your day consist of?
My day was doing podcast stuff and hanging out with you guys, my family. I like that stuff. So,
which means my day was consistent of, Liz, could you not do that and maybe hang out with me? Maybe do that tomorrow while I'm at work and not here?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm not distractible, but I still like the hanging out with you guys. We watched a Christmas movie. That's always good.
We're prepping up for our year-round tree episodes in December and November.
Oh yeah, it's coming up, you guys.
To a week of the Christmas themed stuff for an entire month. People are gonna be so sick of Christmas. I'm already plotting how we're gonna be spending our Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we have a good excuse because because of my job, it gets really kind of hectic for me around Christmas. So I don't have time to think about anything at that point. Kind of have to do the thinking ahead of time.
And last year we got to Christmas Eve and like, what are we doing tonight? I don't know. What are we doing tomorrow? I don't know. Do we have any of the stuff to do any of the things? Because all the stores are closed. No. So we were trying to make something festive happen for the family. And don't get me wrong, we're plenty festive. But like there was a certain, you know how I am about feeling like homey. Like I like things to be very, very homey. Yeah. I like my warm fuzzies and stuff. And it was very difficult to capture the warm, fuzzy feeling without like the classic feeling warm and fuzzy. So Christmas morning, we sat down and started charting out all the shit that we wanted to have next year for sure. And so we have a little list of everything that we need to do in like the last 6 months of the year per month and per that like last week. Because
there's just certain things that, make it feel more Christmassy for us. And we decided we wanted to be intentional about it this year.
We that's one thing I think we do struggle with a lot is the intentionality. Like, we focus on goals and stuff, but I think sometimes when we do let ourselves kind of just let the thrust and trajectory that we're naturally going in kind of take us where it's going, as opposed to really pushing that way. Like I'm a bull in a china shop. Like just whichever way you point me, I'm gonna get there, and don't stop me. But there's a certain degree of which maybe we could get there faster or more articulately if we actually thought about it, as opposed to just barrel forward, crushing everything in my wake.
Yeah. Having a direction certainly helps.
I will destroy everything.
And I can only imagine, us being busy plus whatever precautions, quote unquote, are going to be in
who
at work
knows?
At that time, plus the actual holiday itself. So
I did talk to the boss last night, and I don't see my workload changing anytime for the foreseeable future. Apparently.
Okay, well that's all right.
Ohio has started adding out an additional amount of unemployment.
Oh.
So their people here are back to getting checks, and I believe they're back to getting like back pay checks too. So people gonna have money to be spending.
Okay, well there you go. That is what it is.
That means that the machines will be pumping the stuff out, and I will have a job. So
Yep.
We had a great interview today. It's not the interview that's here because we already had that interview. But today I think was like the interview that I'm defining as like really solidifying where we're headed with the show. And I'm pretty pumped about it. Some changes are definitely going to be happening as far as the show goes. We're going to be most likely, and my hopes are to moving to 3-a-week shows with 3 distinct segments.
Yep.
And Liz is like, whatever, Nick.
No, I know better than to panic. Usually you've got like a method to your madness. So, I'm just going to take the ride.
Well, we moved to the one show a week thing only because back when we were on the Launchpad Network, we they wanted a weekly show, and I kind of liked doing the segment stuff more, where we were doing like an episode looking at music this way, and then doing an episode talking about the news, and then doing an episode, just kind of breaking up, how our episodes went.
Well, I think in a way it kind of gives, our lovely folks who are traveling with us a chance to sort of choose what they want to listen to. You kind of know what the show is going to be about.
No, for sure. I mean, you get to kind of pick the content in the episode that really appeals to you. You don't have to listen to all of them. Although I think you'd be plumb foolish not to, because I think that we are absolutely adorable and chock full of interesting ideas. And hopefully, moving forward, empowerment. I want to be an empowerment podcast. Let's empower some people. Like, we're going to be the freaking, I don't know, some gauntlet of souls or whatever the hell we want to call it. We're gonna be like the gauntlet of souls for weird married people.
I can kind of dig that. I kind of like where you're going with that.
We're gonna go punching reality out just with our freaking, I don't know, big fists of rage. We're gonna take all that nerd rage, fuse it into a gauntlet that we're just gonna go punching society and then took us with.
All right, I don't know where you're going with this, but your enthusiasm is fun.
It's warm. I cut off the circulation in the room, and now I'm stifled.
Yeah.
At any rate, we're gonna have a great interview with John Odermatt next week.
Yes, very very cool. Very nice to have him back on.
What's most likely going to end up happening is I'm going to be having an interview episode. We're going to have an episode where we're going to talk about kind of our life and different things going on with it. We actually had an interesting conversation. I think we're gonna have on the recorder next week about sleep schedules. I think is a fun place to start out.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna handle that kind of stuff, and then I believe next Wednesday I have a recording to get a product that maybe will be of use to some people, and I'm happy to talk to its creator.
Okay.
So we'll see how this all works out. It seems like a lot of work, but I think it's also a lot of work I can do in smaller bites than normally this show takes. Producing like the hour and a half long episode is a bit much, and I have to wait until all of it's worked on to finish it. Whereas opposed to I can work on things in smaller chunks to be a lot more useful. So I guess without further ado, we're going to get into our interview here with Maddie Coyote of the Voluntary Vixens podcast. Now, Coyote isn't something that she added to her name. That is something I added to her name because she didn't have a last name, and I refused to put somebody without a last name in the show roster.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes, that is 100% what that is. So, yeah, we're going to deal with that. I guess without further ado, though, let's get into the interview. Welcome, Maddie, to Peace Freqs. How are we doing today?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
I'm barely awake, as would be at this time of day for me. Liz has been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning, so she's...
Because that's how I roll.
doing. This is, like her midday siesta.
I really wish I could wake up that early. I'm just such a sleeper.
Well, don't give me too much credit. Like, I started working a job when I was like 19 where I had to be up at 3 a.m. every morning. So the habit just,
so
it
5 is like
stuck.
a break for you. So like you're still stuck on that 3 a.m. So basically 5 is like vacation.
She works for UPS and does like loads of trucks in the middle of the night.
Okay.
That's how we can manage the homeschooling thing.
Yep.
Right.
We'll start differently than we started with Jesse in this one. So it was about a year and a half ago, I discovered your guys' podcast. And
can't believe it's been that long.
Right.
It's been a minute.
It's weird to think about. So you've been with us from the beginning.
Probably about. I mean, I was going through, like, literally scouring the internet for libertarian podcasts. So I was typically one of the first people to know when something happened. And immediately I'm like, oh, fuck whoever this Cam guy is in this Make Liberty Great Again network. I have to get these people from my hippie network because they've got like a genuine hippie libertarian on the show. Like, how can I not fucking have this show? Like, I can't claim to be the Liberty Hippie Network unless the sage burning yoga instructor is on my fucking network. It just doesn't work.
So silly.
And apparently word gets around and Cam finds out. And apparently Cam knew about me and Liz before me and Liz knew about Cam. That was also funny.
Yeah.
I like Cam never shows you what he knows, but Cam's like there watching and listening and doesn't know certain things, but knows everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And you'll never know exactly what he knows.
I don't want to say lurker.
Oh no, I lurk.
Not a lurker.
But
no, he's a cool dude.
Spectate.
But in reality, so it was your guys' podcast that kind of forced me to start interacting with Cam. And I'd consider Cam a good friend now.
Very good.
But
it all worked out.
It was just the
beard folk.
The uncomfort of that kind of set that ball rolling. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the show and why the hell you started it?
Well,
was it just Cam forcing you people to do it? Because I get the impression that that's how he tells all his stories. I had this idea and then I made them do it.
Well, kind of funny because it kind of is like that, So for those listening who don't know, or I'm sure you introduced me, or you will,
yeah, we will.
Because you guys know what you're doing. But you can just call me Maddie with the Voluntary Vixens podcast. And so it's a weird world we live in and a weird world I live in that I have a podcast, considering I'm a podcast devourer. I love podcasts. I spend most of my time listening to podcasts, usually about the same ones. And in a weird way, I guess I'm a masochist when it comes for wanting to have information, even if it's obviously not the information we want. As libertarians or as people somewhere in the liberty movement, generally the information out there is only going to make us hate the state more, hate, what's going on right now, for example, more understanding it more deeply. So I don't know. It's just weird that I am playing some part in that. But I guess that kind of goes into one of the reasons we have it is, it's a somewhat of a form of keeping our sanity and some degree of therapy. But so I've never met Cam in person, despite the fact that he was actually for the first time ever and for a very brief window of time, only one state over from me instead of 3 or 4 or wherever. So the funny thing is about our network, MLGA network, is most of us have never met each other. And but we've found each other online together a couple years ago. And, thank God we did. And just because they've been such, a bedrock of support, times where I don't feel great about things that are going on and, just things in my family, things personally, we all kind of found each other that way. And then, I guess it was kind of based around a podcast called Make Liberty Great Again, right? I'm sure you've heard Cam's story about kind of there was this mass exodus from a bigger Facebook group. And we all kind of just found each other and we're you're cool, you're cool, henchman holding wrench, you can stay. Let's party over here.
Yeah, that group always sucked. I still listen to the show, but his group always sucked.
You were there? I think I'm technically still there.
I was not one to interact often because I was way too hardcore for that group. We'll just put it that way.
So, well, and that's why then, right? You didn't bother because you saw what happened to anybody that might have been a little bit too logically consistent.
I never had any issues with any of the mods, and to this day I get along fine with it. But I would often have difficulties with the more Republican light people in the group, and I'm just not one to. I'm not one to take it to a place where I'm going to have trouble with mods. I'll just go, like, okay, whatever. I don't need to deal with this shit, and then I'll just quit the group.
Grown up, right?
I think I quit the group a bunch of times. I think I got into an argument about dead baby jokes once in there, and
as you do,
and I just kind of never went back.
You either love them or you hate them. I mean, that's the thing about dead baby jokes, right?
Well, there was the final straw for me in there was actually over the whole James Gunn thing and calling James Gunn, a child molester.
The Guardians of the Galaxy guy, yeah.
And I'm like, yes, what he said was distasteful, but that was kind of the point of it. Like, I'm not about to go and say everyone who makes off-color jokes is a rapist or a child molester. They make those jokes because they're disgusting. That's kind of the point.
And as far as, I guess, accusations go, like, not even saying that this is my full opinion on the matter, because I don't know enough and didn't really investigate enough, but it's like, it can't just be jokes either.
He was the only good director in the MCU.
I don't know. I don't remember all the jokes, but so I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, and so back to things that are supposed to be on topic, Maddie. So like me as a podcast host, like I put myself out there. I'm to some degree anonymous, but that's for a reason as well. Like why would you, like, these opinions of mine for some reason aren't very popular and would probably get me canceled, even though it's like,
Well, if canceling was all I had to worry about, that would be way better. And I did not think, I'm too arrogant to fucking not use my real name, I guess. But I probably should have, because now most of my decisions are is this going to be the day CPS comes and takes my child away? And it is a real fear.
Legitimate fear.
And I hope it never happens.
Yeah, well, I'm into that.
But I'm also not about to shut my mouth either, so.
I mean, you got to do life.
Yeah.
So is there a particular topic that you guys like really like to discuss? I always just come back to the sage because that's funny to me. It's not like.
You mean like what did Jesse and I talk about on the show? I don't know. We've been having a lot of like guests on recently, but that's just because like
it's easier to ask people questions.
Maybe it's that too, but also like, we're all probably a little bit starved for more socialization than usual because we've been locked in our houses, or, I hope everybody has found freedom in their own way. Like, to whatever degree you're scared about this thing, like pray that you haven't felt like actually.
How scared are you?
No, yeah.
Okay. Not that scared.
I've never been scared because I just look at the numbers and the math has never given me any reason to be scared.
Yeah. Well, like the times I was most nervous was when it transitioned to something that I knew about and my colleagues didn't know about, to then when everybody else started knowing about it, and then the way they reacted to it kind of almost like repulsed me further. But like did take me a minute where
the reaction's always been the scariest part.
Yes, exactly. Well, the reaction is what scared me. Like I knew about it before all these people knew about it, and then it was their reaction to it that scared me. Not really necessarily like, I don't know, because
yeah, okay.
I don't want to. I'm not.
I actually,
what have I been 6 months? Like I've been boosting my immune system. Like I've been making myself healthier. Like so that as a maybe sane and proactive person who wants to stay healthy and independent, like you should probably be cautious and aware, but also like remember that it really has to start with yourself being healthy before something would come across you.
Well, and that's been the weirdest thing, is that from day one, they've been telling you things that are going to undermine that, which makes me wonder if maybe the quote-unquote second wave isn't going to be a different thing that happens to be as awful as they said this was going to be, and they've prepared everyone to have a serious mass die-off because they told them how to fucking prepare against it all the wrong ways, like the exact opposite of everything you want to do.
Yeah, you're right.
Like that's what, if there was some giant cabal making like, goals for the world, and that was like a thing, that does scare me, because most people, like if they were to continue doing the shit they're doing, are probably going to die if that were the case. So hopefully it's not, and they're just opportunists that manage to pull one over way too good.
So what do you do to boost your immune system? I'm curious what your approach is.
Well, I try to just eat well, things that are not overly processed. The rule in the grocery store is to kind of stick to the perimeter
Right.
and avoid a lot of the foods in between. And so I try to do that. I try to.
I've never heard of that. That's an interesting approach.
Well, everything processed is generally in those middle aisles. If you actually pay attention, like you got your deli, you've got your produce section, you've got your dairy, and your meats are all along those outside edges. With the theory being that you're going to go to that one thing that you need, and then if you just work your way through the aisles, you'll get some chips, you'll get some crackers, this looks good, and then by the time you get over to the milk, you
get the stuff that's less healthy for you.
Well, see, that's like the opposite of the way I do it. Like, I just like to go straight to the frozen food section and just load up on frozen pizzas, and then I'm good.
Everything your heart desires, right there.
Still technically one of those middle aisles, Nikki, but
yeah. So, that, and no, it doesn't mean I'm always perfect or I'm always like,
that'd be a sad
very
life.
strict with what I eat, but it would be like you're supposed to enjoy what you're doing. And so, and then I really like kombucha. It's a good source of probiotics. So I really like that. And then honestly, like a lot of, like besides exercise, I'm trying to get myself back into yoga, but it really is like a self-discipline thing. So I just, took a break and I'm just coming back on my own time, right? I sound like such a freaking hippie.
Exactly. Why do you think I fucking thought, man, I need to have these people on my network? And I'm supposedly the creepy one, but let me tell you. Continue. Sorry. I just feel some sort of way about it.
Well, let me tell you what.
You're silly. I've been doing a lot of research on the microbiome lately. So sort of thinking about how much that can feed into your immune system and like what toxins you're keeping in your body and what things your body can fight off. And then that versus, what they're telling us food wise. Yeah.
Yes. Or have for the past few decades.
Right.
Like, eat all the bread.
And
eat literally all the bread. See everything in that bottom tier of that food pyramid? Eat
more
it all.
of it.
Eat it all the time. Eat it more than eat it more than like, there's like 6 to 11 servings on that government food pyramid. Like how, like, do you want me to eat an entire loaf of bread like a couple times a day? Like,
I'm okay with this life.
Yeah.
The
what life?
Entire loaf of bread a day life.
Well, yeah, the problem with that is
can we make it even better? Can we make it banana bread every day?
I feel lethargic. Oh, okay. Well, we can talk banana.
Wait. Let's actually get a little healthier. We'll make it some zucchini bread. So then we actually have veggies in there.
Okay.
All right.
That'll give you a little bit of fiber.
There we go.
A little prebiotic fiber in there.
I mean, the zucchini's not going to outweigh the amount of sugar in there, but whatever.
Oh no, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And like so, I avoid like white raw.
Yeah.
Or like white sugar. Like
I promise you, the brown sugar's better.
Oh, it is.
This is what I'm dealing with here.
For many reasons.
It was a Rolling Stones reference. Get your minds out of the gutter, you two.
I see.
It's a struggle.
Classic.
You're silly.
So what do you do in life outside of podcasting, out of curiosity, that would perhaps give you a different outlook than most, or perhaps a more educated outlook than most on these trying times? You can be as nondescript as you want.
You mean Corona 2020 or yeah. Well, so for the past, not that, makes me an expert at anything, but I got my bachelor's in biology because what was more interesting than the living world to me and how we are part of it and how we interact with it and how other things interact with each other. Like people don't like biology. It's like, you don't like life. Like you don't appreciate like what you can see and know and observe from the natural world. Like you don't get that.
No, they don't like absolutes. They don't like being told this is what this actually is.
Liz had to convince me not to name our daughter endoplasmic reticulum. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, who's the big loser there?
Yeah, right.
Me. It would have been a sweet fucking thing to call your kid. So long. It's got so many parts to it.
Yeah.
Andy for short. Like parts for days. And so I kind of jumped around a bit, like just for some further like context and backstory. So I graduated with this biology degree and kind of immediately after school did a brief stint in the public school system.
Sorry.
I know. I mean, I got out, I'm not a victim. I escaped. I got out.
Said like every victim out there.
Right.
I'm not a victim.
Right. I don't still dream about it. No, I don't. But yeah, so I was doing that, realized like awful, like couldn't stick around and do that. There was no reason to do so and no desire at all. So, but while I was there, I was also helping on the ESOL program.
Okay.
English is second language or for speakers of other languages. So I was in there because I can speak Spanish. I minored in that in college. And so I was there kind of just being an extra body in the room for all these recently arrived folks from Central.
So you're one of the ones bringing the Mexicans in. That's what this is all about, really.
Feel like
bringing them all in. Yeah, packing them in the truck. You know, they don't get a choice in the matter. I go pick them up and they come with me. Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So your name is your actual, like, since I don't have a last name to use on the on your thumbnail, you're going to be Maddie Coyote from now on.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where you're going with this.
That might work.
Yes.
I feel like that's a good play off, the Vixen thing already. I think it could work. Maybe it's like my alter ego.
Law will never catch me because I am the best, and I know when I die, that's when I'll finally rest. Until then, I'll keep it riding just as fast as I can go. Soon I'll head down south again into hell or Mexico. I can't live like this forever, no matter how I try. If the law catches me, I will surely die. So I keep on stealing, might kill another man. If they somehow corner me, I'll make my final stand.
Hey everyone, Jake here, host of the Tasting Anarchy podcast. Join my co-host Mason and I each week as we explore the world of wine and alcohol through a Liberty lens. You can find us on all your major podcatchers, tastinganarchy.com, or Tasting Anarchy on Twitter. Tasting Anarchy, your wine and liberty podcast. Find out how much government is in your drink.
But from there, like I went and lived in Chile for a year.
Oh, wow.
Or almost a year. And I was teaching English there. So I was kind of just like using my experiences and just various bits to kind of just get out and do what I wanted. Get the quarter life crisis out of my way, so I could be a grown up. And so did that.
It's overrated.
Oh, well.
What? Being an adult? Rough. I don't even have kids yet. And
kids are fun.
Can't.
Kids are one of the better parts of it.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I need, right? Like I feel like it's one of those things where I need the next really worthwhile challenge. Because like, again, I'm a masochist. I'm a type 1 on the Enneagram. Like, give me more responsibility. Which is what a weird thing for a human to say, right?
The only real challenge is how much sleep is necessary in your life, because you'll be getting about a quarter of it.
Oh, that's a really good question. And actually sleep is very important. To me and to everybody, just back on the, how to keep yourself healthy. People. Like sleep is so important.
Boo.
So please sleep somehow, some way. Like, please make sure you sleep. Right? Like I'm such like a mom. Like, go to bed, but I'm not even a mom yet. So like,
as it says at the bottom of my website, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just like would be dead if I didn't sleep enough. So I like everybody, unless somebody like really thinks ill of me, I need to sleep.
Just to be clear, folks, I don't know if she wants us to tell this, but I mean, she's actually in bed right now, so she sure looks like it.
No, I'm not.
I'm gonna live in a. No, that's
a couch.
That's a bed. Look at that. Look at all those things.
It's a couch. It's a chase lounge and a couch.
She's just
like
being fancy.
That's what. See, there's a table.
Part. There you go.
It's been a long time since I've seen a bed, Liz. So.
Yeah, we don't do the bed thing. Ooh. It's overrated.
They take up so much space in your house.
We like the space.
Just throw a couple blankets down on the ground. Okay.
I mean, nothing like a good blanket.
That's how we roll.
Like I said, the adulting thing is overrated. Yeah. Just because I have kids doesn't mean I can't still be a kid. In fact, I feel like there's almost
actually a little bit.
No.
But I get what you're saying.
You stop that right now. Don't you take away you stop stealing my dreams.
Knock it off. See, look at this mom language. Stop stealing my dreams.
Liz is definitely a mom. I am a perpetual child. I am the epitome of American male that will forever be a child.
He literally wanted Fruity Pebbles this morning. Or no, yeah, Fruity Pebbles.
I've wanted Fruity Pebbles every morning for the past week, apparently. I saw them in the store and I'm like,
yeah.
Well, now they're in my head and I can't get them out. Like, I'm going to have to exercise the...
Yeah. I mean, you just got to scratch the itch. Like, get those Fruity Pebbles.
I have to get the Fruity Pebbles monkey off my back.
And then remember that they're not that good.
Yeah, well.
Well, you know the worst part is I don't even need the Fruity Pebbles. Like, I go for the bagged stuff, like the the generic Fruity Pebbles.
Oh, generic Fruity Pebbles?
Oh, not gonna lie, I feel like I relate totally because growing up, the knockoff Cheerios were better than Cheerios.
Oh yeah, I could agree with that.
Well, they're so much cheaper too. Like,
yeah,
right, like the Tostios.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Like, why are you charging?
Oh, my dad loved the deal, and I loved whatever the hell was going on in that off-brand Cheerio. Like,
it's the other one. Like, I haven't had Fruity Pebbles in years, and those are like one of my favorites. But the next one is actually the Captain Crunch with Crunch berries, and those are awesome.
Oh man!
Wait, what were the ones that actually
cereals.
had fruit-shaped little cereal things? I liked those better.
Tricks?
Were those Tricks?
Tricks were fruit-shaped
Maybe.
corn
Yeah.
cereal.
I liked
mean,
those.
they're not any different than like any of the other
No,
ones. They
they're
just
not,
happen to be
but-
shaped like
Yeah.
corn. I think Kix had like little berry things for a while.
Kicks for you could do there were Kicks varieties. I tricked my brother into eating a grape one time when he was young and like didn't like fruit. He didn't like
Wow.
fruit until he was like
Okay.
20, to be fair. But like, you know, he's old enough to eat the stuff, but like I told him like a grape was a purple Kick,
Yeah.
like the cereal, and he loves Kicks. Like, he doesn't love Kicks. They're awesome. And so he ate the grape and he did not like that.
No, really?
How do you not like fruit?
I
Like,
know.
it's mainlining sugar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Texture. I don't know. Like the texture of all of it bothered him for long enough that
Like, I can get not liking vegetables, but fruit, like, give me all the fruit.
yeah, vegetables sometimes are really hard work, but yeah, fruit is like nature's candy. But so anyway, you know, did the teaching thing, and then I was like, all right, well, so came back from Chile, like poor, you know, like I was not making money there, and then they took all this money out in taxes that I'm never gonna ever see again. You know, but anyway, came back and was like, all right, so let me actually look for a job in my degree, you know, like let me actually look for something in biology because, you know, it was very general, you know, like it could lead to all sorts of opportunities and directions. And that was kind of my point in graduating with that, instead of specializing, because I didn't know what I wanted to specialize in. Like, why box yourself into a corner without really know, like,
Sure.
you wanna
Nobody
stay
puts
that
baby
corner.
in a corner.
So, yeah, no. And baby didn't put herself in that corner either, except it is baby. She was kind of lame for
Yeah,
like
she
most of
was.
that movie.
Jennifer Grey, she had the nose though.
I know. Why nose job? Why?
She ruined herself with that nose job. You ever seen Jennifer Grey now? She's weird looking.
Not recently,
She looks way
but
less Jewy. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
And that kind of
Well,
ruined her. Everybody, it's
she
your little
did,
Jewish
yeah.
princess
I mean, it
fantasies, and they take
just
that
didn't-
away from you.
There you go.
like robbed. Do you feel robbed?
Oh, absolutely.
There you
Victim
go.
of
I mean, I know that there was a car accident in there,
Um,
and like the nose job was part of the car accident.
Oh, well, then you can't
But-
really blame her for that.
No, I don't blame her. I blame whatever your god is that you follow.
The car accident.
Your god took
Okay.
Jennifer Grey from me.
I'm pretty sure that's not how that works either.
That is exactly how it works.
I don't think that's how it works either. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I'm not an expert. But so I found a job on Craigslist of all places, and it's so funny because my boss and I will always like cheers to Craigslist. But so I found this company that had like no web presence, and actually, you know, we had a conversation. I don't know, it was like this really vague
Mhm.
Craigslist post, and I was looking for a biology major, environmental science major, somebody like that. You know, no experience required, administrative like experience a plus. Like, I was just like so defeated by the job search upon getting back from Chile, and like having not spent those past years doing something in the science realm
Yeah.
that would look better on my CV, and just like me being really disappointed that looking at all the other people who are about my age or, you know, class, like getting into PhD programs or things like that. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that, and I don't have that behind me. So, you know, let's just, I guess, see what's out there, see what I can find, figure out. But it's pretty defeating.
Yeah, everything you just said on your that was in that Craigslist ad. I'm like, they were looking for girls to be photographed.
Well, I mean, it's a miracle that you found what you did, apparently. That is all that you're really saying.
Oh yeah, no, it is like,
You found the one article that has all of those keywords in it that wasn't, you know, taking their
That
clothes
wasn't
off.
cam girl job.
that was next. I didn't finish reading. It was a mistake. What a scary day. No, I'm kidding. But so like I sat my email. It was the most nonchalant email of my life. I was like, really don't know much from your posting. Don't know anything about your company. Sounds like it's for me though. Here's my CV. Let me know what you think. And then, a couple weeks later, I got a call. We had a phone interview, came in for an in-person interview, and was hired. And so this firm I work, it's like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's a firm, but really like network of expert witnesses and, scientists and doctors, physicians. And basically my company plays the in-between between those doctors, scientists, researchers, academics, with lawyers who obviously need either assistance on the plaintiff side or they need help defending their client. So we do a lot of toxic tort litigation. And that's basically, somebody claiming that their illness is from a certain toxin. And then, we go to court to see how legitimate that is or not. And so my experts are the ones that are there to help, describe and teach things one way or the other. But hopefully, like, the idea is that we're not just like a expert shop. And so it's really, truly like trying to combat really bad ideas and really bad science.
Which is most of it at this point?
So what's interesting, and that I have a unique perspective on all of it, because, and it's more noticeable right now, like this year than ever before, just how like there's not a wall between science and facts and politics and somebody's ideology. Like there isn't this magical wall inside these people or anybody that, what you think and feel and know, like what might be like your scientific part of you, like versus like this ideological side of you that is going to influence the way you see the world, the way you interact with it, and the way you kind of register and process that information coming in.
Yeah.
And it is not your science, your beliefs, like it is not protected. Like it's not just like there's not a it's a it's like a very fluid barrier, and it's more obvious than ever.
We should have had you on our Free Market Screen Earth episode about when will people take science seriously again.
Oh, I don't know, like because of what they're doing to it now.
It was a question someone asked. It was meant to be derogatory, and that basically, why don't you conservative types take science seriously? To which I chose to treat as a real question, and my answer is that it's all over politicized, and basically what you believe is based on a party line. The whole point is you're supposed to have both sets of conflicting ideas in the marketplace, and they fight it out and they point out the weaknesses of the other one. That's the whole point. Like, yes, ideology has always existed, and people of different ideologies can point out what's good or what's bad about concepts or theories or your science, so to speak. But when only one type of political ideology is allowed to have a say in the room, then that makes it not real science, essentially. The idea that science is a collection of facts is frankly a stupid concept. I wish people would get over. Science is a process, and they seem to forget that.
Well, it's conveniently not stressed or maybe properly taught. If you guys homeschool, you at least have the chance to teach your kids like what they want to, or what you want them to know and what they should know in order to properly interact and become like, people that can interact with other people well and, and thrive, like that's really just our most basic needs that aren't being met with the public school system. And anybody who thinks otherwise is delusional, and anybody who thinks that that should be the public school's job anyway. I hope more people are waking up, because
you allow me to give you the not a real libertarian lecture. You call them public schools as opposed to government schools. Ugh.
Yeah, okay. But the actual ability to, I don't know, argue a point with actual support or...
Well, no, that's not... See, that's part of the problem is they have plenty of support. I mean, because you can make shit say whatever you wanted to say. Clearly, they've made it seem as though most of the world... Have you seen the study they did on how many people Americans think have been affected by coronavirus versus how many people have actually been affected by it?
I've seen the numbers, and I've been shared the article. I haven't read it, but I think I saw Thaddeus Russell post about it, and it was just like very alarming.
The study showed that Americans think 20% of the population has had coronavirus, and 9% of our population has died from it. When in reality, 1% has had it, and 0.04% have died from it.
Wow.
So,
well, I mean, I just meant that you used to actually have to include your opponent's arguments
in order to discount them
and rebut them. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, rebut them. Well, yeah, and
they wouldn't even let you look at the way they treat people that digress on the mainstream view of carbon dioxide.
Yeah,
and what it actually does to the environment. They're trying to get them kicked off Facebook. They're not even allowed to talk. They get them out of the discussion. They don't want people hearing what they have to say. And whether or not what they say is right, like you're only going to galvanize people to their cause by trying to force them out of the conversation. Have you ever heard of the CO2 Coalition? I mean, they're people that
I feel like I have.
They're not. I don't think they're saying that it doesn't affect the environment. Their point is that the effects it has are positive as opposed to negative. That's the thing that I've always like. Anytime something comes up where people start getting stupid about shit, the question I'm always asking anymore is, okay, what's the mechanism?
Mm-hmm. That's part of. Oh, look at you using
right?
Science, like the process of science, like the mechanism.
You can't tell me global warming is going to destroy the Earth without first explaining to me how it's going to destroy the Earth. Like, what is the thing that's going to... Well, because when you actually boil down, like, well, everything they tell you is all things that are really, really good for humans. For the most part. Like, oh, wait, you mean it's going to make it warmer? That means less people freeze to death?
Oh.
Globally, wait, you're going to tell me that CO2 makes plants grow? You mean the shit that we eat?
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me you want to move to an all...
More oxygen? More oxygen makers?
By the way, the science could be different, but it from everything I've seen, like, even their own science tends to say the same shit. And they just have political goals that tend to disagree with it is what it really boils down to. It's frustrating.
Yeah. And even think about like what you were just saying, like the science says. It's like, and so people have been trained to respond to that with, yeah, well, if the science says it, but it's like, what do you mean by science?
Well, people tell you, oh, well, you're not an epidemiologist. You can't have any thoughts on this. I'm like, bullshit. Like,
Nope, no opinions whatsoever. Yeah, right.
I don't need to have a dearth of knowledge to understand a process. And if you can't explain it to me, like, I'm sorry, I've never come across any concept that was so fucking foreign that I couldn't grasp it in 10 minutes worth of explanation.
Yeah.
If that's the level that we're expecting of people's education, like, I'm sorry, we're more doomed than even I thought.
Yeah.
And once again, math doesn't require a whole hell of a lot of science, and all of the math says what. Unless you're
learning the new math. That it's so funny how maybe us weirdos might have been talking about Common Core coming in, and people probably didn't realize it or what it was, or kind of just what that might actually have an effect on what the children are learning, all that, and now that all the kids were home all this past, like, I really hope, again, more people are waking up to like what a...
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's been a...
Can I cuss on this podcast?
Yeah.
What a fucking sham it is.
See, at least in the math side of things, like, I never had a problem with the math. I just think shoving that way of doing math on kids is I wouldn't start there, I guess. Like,
an unnecessary chore.
Yeah. Like, for me, like, honestly, it's kind of the way I do math anyways, but it's a matter of, I was an advanced math person. Like, I took through calculus. Like, I do math that way because it's kind of a shorthand for me, but to learn math that way is very difficult.
How much more useful is it to learn to do that because you want a shortcut than to have to learn it that way?
Well, that's exactly it. Like, to me, it was more of an enrichment thing than like an understanding it thing. Like, I can do it that way because I understand the numbers. If you take away the how do you understand the numbers shit, then it becomes something completely different.
You're just doing, like, I don't know, magic tricks with numbers all of a sudden because it doesn't make any sense to you.
Well, I think that's what kind of, like, if they're not teaching you what the numbers mean or like what the significance is, and then like just expect you to like, all right, here's step 1, and you're going to do step 1 when you interact with these numbers, and then 2, and then 3, and then it's just like devoid of context. Like, it's not about even like building to that point. It's just like throwing that at them and enter a subject, and that's kind of what it is. Like, this is what we want you to know, and we're going to throw it at you. But so anyway, I don't know.
Out of curiosity, what is the kind of consensus on things around the people that you work with? And since you do see I'm assuming a wide variety of people with varying opinions on things, or is it as bad as we think, and just basically all those people think one thing and don't listen to anyone else?
I'm definitely the minority in even questioning any of this. Like, I don't know who else questions things like I'm questioning amongst who I work with. It really does seem like some people are on the more scared part of the spectrum. Like, and then I don't necessarily think that's reasonable. And thus, I'm not acting as such. But if that's what they're experiencing and they're not trying to, I don't know. It's really difficult though, because, you know, like here comes like the libertarian idea, the voluntarist ideas of like things should be voluntary, right? And so, you know, the thing is, it's like I want them to do whatever they feel like is necessary to make themselves feel like fine. But like where that ends is them having any say in what I do that actually matters and would mitigate or like prevent me from doing something. Like,
you know, strict adherence to property rights fixes all of this, but
I agree. I 100% agree.
Like if they don't want you to come out and be breathing maskless in their air, they can just, you know, make it all private property and you're not allowed on it.
I agree. But these are also the people that don't, you know, like, and the reason this all kind of works is that's what is property rights. Like people don't even know it. They haven't been taught it. Like they don't know what the concept is. They don't know like what the benefit of having it is, like how much freer a society might be with the more like, you know, privatization sounds like a dirty word, but you know what I mean? Like value of private property.
Yeah.
I think right now it would actually be a far less free society with adherence to property rights, but it would be a voluntary society, and that is preferable. Like I think honestly, they've done such a number on people that the fact that people are capable of being as scared as they are of what they're scared of. Like I imagine most people would probably be requiring masked places because they believe some pretty crazy stuff, but that's only on their property, and it would all depend on how many of them seem to believe it. Then again, would they believing this stuff in a free market of ideas as opposed to a government indoctrinated system?
Correct. Yep. It would be one thing if we weren't forced to do what they wanted us to do instead of, you know, letting me decide for my own life.
Do you like your libertarian podcast host leather-clad on a motorcycle running from Nazis in black and white? I'm sure my friend Eric in no way resembles that at all, but his Rebel with a Cause podcast is guaranteed to bring you that same rebellious spirit, bringing in guests from all over the political wheel, bringing with it his own personal blend of irreverence and, dare I say it, down-home charm. So head on over to the Rebel with a Cause podcast and begin your own rebellion against bad podcasts. So who is the they?
I don't know. It's really like, I guess it starts with, I'm going to say, call in Tom Woods' use of one of my new favorite terms of his, the Borg. Like, I feel like to some degree that's pretty high up. And even if you want to get like metaphorical or metaphysical with it, it's like the Borg, like the opinion creators, where does it come from? Like, and so whether it's a couple, like a specific group of people or just, I don't know, whatever that higher level of planned, organized against us, consciousness, again, whether that's a group of people or just like really something crazy like an idea.
Like the hive mind.
I don't like to think of things as adversarial. And I really try and keep people from fighting it. I just think of human beings making human decisions, and sometimes people with really crappy ideas have a lot of money, which gives them outsized sphere of influence.
Yes.
Like say Event 201, people at Davos and people involved in something like that, they probably feel as though they're doing what's right for the world and, trying to warn people about what they see as being a danger.
I think that's very generous, and you're giving them a lot of credit.
Well, the fact of the matter is they're going to see the world through their eyes. And one thing I can tell you, I've worked around wealthy people, and they think about the world the same way we do, but because of the way the spheres of influence work, number one, they have more control over larger circles.
Mm-hmm.
But like you and me, we worry about our family. We worry about the people next to us because we relate to those people.
Mm-hmm.
They worry about people that they know and are close to. And those people tend to also be like them because they're people they have things in common with.
Yeah.
And so what it ends up being is that they're looking out for a world based on a worldview that kind of has them and their echelon at the center, and everyone else kind of, I won't say a pawn in it, but
a peon. Like
they're not factored in any real way, other than like they just happen to share the space, and there's someone that we know that this is what makes the world better. It's the science, well, we know that we need to do this for a better world, and we have to make these people do it better because we have the ability to make them do it better. Does Bill Gates, like, is he a nefarious guy? Maybe. Or is he just a guy with way too much money who thinks something that was debunked back in the 70s,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not hitting a tipping point as far as the global population goes, folks. Sorry.
Yep, nope. You're wrong about that too.
Well, they've been proven wrong about it at every step of the way. So
yep, every new stage of the alarm, the crisis. That
yeah.
Well, what's funny is that because you also have other people with money like Bill Gates, like you've got your Elon Musk, who says that his biggest concern is actually population collapse.
I know.
Yeah.
Because if you pay attention to it, all wealthy nations stop making babies.
Yep.
Because they'd rather do other shit with their lives. Now, I don't look at that as a problem because I think if you start getting into some of the science out there for how to extend human life, I think human life 100 years from now is going to be wildly longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so a replacement rate doesn't need to be as high because we're not going to be dying off the same. I think we'll probably get back to what would be a more natural level of human density on the planet. But
I don't know. I feel like hearing both of their arguments and their thoughts and what I think. I'm more on the Elon Musk side.
Oh, me too.
Even if there might, and I agree with what you're saying, but even if that's it's proven to maybe extend people's life, and then as you age, you are more likely to get cancer, period, the end,
yeah,
and other diseases and sicknesses. And so I'm very encouraged by our ability to treat a lot of those. And, once somebody has them or, but it really, even if we live longer, there's going to still going to need more of us.
Well, it reminds me of my favorite number involved with the coup, which is the average American's life expectancy versus the average age of death of someone with the coronavirus, which is...
I haven't seen those two side by side, but...
Yeah.
Well, I believe last I knew, the average age of death was 81 years old, which is significantly higher than I believe it's 73 or 75 for the average American's life expectancy. So if you die from coronavirus, chances are you're going to die older than the average lifetime of a person here. You already lived far too long a life, then, is what that's telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what we've seen in various countries, Sweden. They
We're not allowed to talk about Sweden.
Outlived how long they were supposed to live. Forgot about Sweden. Not Sweden. It's not Sweden. But the people who died of COVID or from COVID or what they're classifying as with COVID. I don't know what Sweden's doing either, because I know our numbers aren't great. Is it on purpose?
Well, our numbers aren't great because of some really, really shitty planning and, I don't know, going and sending people with diseases back into places where people with diseases tend to die.
Yeah.
Say...
Oh, yeah, that's good job. Cuomo's a hero.
Well, 75% of our numbers are New York City, and where most of the people who died were all in old folks' homes.
Yeah, it's just awful.
I mean... And he's praised. He did a good job.
Oh, I know. The worship for some of these governors.
I'm disgusted. I've never been more disgusted.
So
I don't live in New York State anymore for a reason, so I'm happy to not be there.
Good. I mean, it's just, if New York State knew better, it would excise New York City.
They've been trying for decades.
Yeah.
It's too bad that, again, I
grew up in upstate New York, and they've been trying like hell to get rid of that fucking city. And the problem is that city is all of voting people.
Yeah.
So that's why they, are a blue state, even though it's a red state minus that city.
Well, then a lot of the wealth is in that city as well. So if you excise that city, then your budgeting as a state is a bit different, which I'm sure they're aware of.
Yeah, your budgeting would be different because none of the fucking counties would have anything to do with the state. They wouldn't be asking for anything. They'd just be stay the fuck out of my business and stop taking my money. I can do a lot more with my money.
A lot more just, Thank you for leaving me the fuck alone.
Well, here, we're going to put you on the spot.
Oh, are we?
We're technically a parenting show now. And so I'm going to ask you to make me feel good about the future of America or awful.
Oh, this is weird.
Which way do you see things going? Do you see any positives on the horizon?
Yes, and I think I liked, even if my own heart of hearts has doubts and is definitely afraid, I like to try and remember that people that sort of know or what I see and consider as knowing the most, being most aware of just how I think the world also operates and are still optimists. And so, for example, Ron Paul or Michael Malice, those two people are so optimistic and hopeful. And I can see why they feel that way. And so it lets me kind of, which, not to say rely on these other people or, man is fallible, but
harboring the negativity sure ain't going to do anything too good for you.
Exactly. And so I think to some degree it is important to have hope and think about there being possibility and opportunity and it not being the end of the world. And then, you realize all right, well, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. What can I do to make it a better place while I'm here?
Are we really sure it's not the end of the world though?
I don't know. If it is
I mean, they're talking, sign of the beast kind of stuff.
Yeah, but there's if you're paying attention, there's specific things that haven't happened yet. So
what?
I think we've got a few more years.
I read Revelations, Liz.
I just read Revelations. We're not there yet.
I've never read it actually in full, so I probably should just to brush up.
I'm a big horror enthusiast, so I can tell you right now, there's few horror books out there as terrifying as the Book of Revelations.
It's true.
It's written to be intense. Scary as fuck.
Yeah, and such a scary thing. Best to avoid it. Best to avoid it in the sense of
die early.
Let's not read it or think about it, or how the world might end, or and if the world and the scarier question is, if the world were to end, who the fuck am I? What did I do? Why am I so good? Or what was good about my time? I mean, unless you really just don't care about any of that, which maybe you don't, but that's the scarier question, not so I don't know. I mean, if the world is going to end or is ending, I think everybody should try to live and find as much peace as they can. And then, I think that peace would extend to other people. And then it would be a mass, calm the fuck down, everybody. And let's just chill for a minute. Let's get centered. And then, maybe the world won't end then, but that's a lot that needs to happen.
I guess my thing is people are freaking out we're surrounded by demons slashing up buildings and God, what the hell would they do if we actually were surrounded by demons slashing up everything?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they've been happening to some degree, but I'm very surprised and thankful and grateful for the witch burning that hasn't physically happened. I'm glad we're not physically burning people these days.
Yeah, well, that is fortunate. I think the idea is you're supposed to be living the life that you would want to live. You know what I mean? If you believe there's good you can do, then do that good. If you believe that you need to align with what is good, then align with what is good. And whatever the situation, that's where you want to be. And you can't really control how good or bad the situation. And the end of the world is not something you can control anyway. But
really,
the things you can control are you aligning with what is good?
Since when can't I control the end of the world?
Yeah, good luck with that.
We've been over this.
Well, no, and that's the problem. I think really, the whole Karen thing is, in a sense, people trying to control what they believe could be the end of their world. You know what I mean? And you can't really do that, especially as it pertains to what other people are doing with their bodies, their lives, their desire to continue receiving a paycheck and, feeding their families.
I'd just like to remind people.
Yeah.
Liz loads international packages, and I work around money and touchscreen jukeboxes. Neither one of us has stopped working at any point during this.
Quite so.
Neither have I.
We're lucky in that department. I guess I should have probably taken the time off when my boss offered to lay me off. I would have made a lot more money.
Taking those checks.
Well, yeah, with those bonus federal checks. God, those fucking.
All that funny money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're gonna print it regardless, so you might as well get as much of it as you can and.
Oh yeah, I know.
Do as good for yourself as possible.
And use it while it's got value. And not in the way like to just spend, but
absolutely.
like, invest smart, like accumulate of more physical wealth.
Right.
Yeah, and that, like freeing yourselves, like
I own my car out right now. So that's a big deal.
Awesome.
And we're just putting up,
awesome.
sauerkraut and lacto fermented stuff and, like the stuff that's going to make you not die in the future.
Yeah. Yes. I should be preserving. I should be canning right now. Like we shouldn't even be on this podcast.
In a kitchen
I should
right
be
now. Right.
preparing for the fucking
taking
apocalypse.
a bunker.
I really should be.
Right.
But we try to balance, like.
But the reason we're doing this podcast is so other people out there who maybe don't know what they can do or don't have a clear path can see an example out of other people that are trying to do right by themselves and the world around them. That's the important thing, because I think a lot of people were really, really scared. I mean, even those of us who thought it was all insanity, like the reaction to it.
Oh yeah, no, that's
scared the shit out of me.
Come on now.
So
very scary reaction. And so we responded accordingly, like how we thought we needed to and was best, I'm sure, like to whatever degree you guys, prepared to get anything.
Prior to our current garden, we've never really gotten anything to grow. I think our best crop was like 4 beans on the bean plant.
No, I got some an actual jar of pickles like a couple of years back, but yeah, nothing compared to what we've gotten this year, and we weren't aggressive about it.
Liz is freaking out about all the freaking. Every time I go out there's more giant cucumbers. I don't know what the hell to do with them all now.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's
good.
That's abundance.
Good.
That's what we need, and we'll find a use for it.
And you will need them. And if you can can and preserve them, good. Like because that's like
yeah.
You need to can and preserve those too. Can and preserve. Not that I'm even the canner or preserver. Like, it's funny. It should drop soon. Maybe I guess this week. I don't know when we're recording, but like, so Jesse and I just had a chick on who lives out in like a tiny bit of land, maybe an acre or less than an acre in Oregon. And so not a ton of land, but like she produces her own meat for the family, like through ducks and rabbits, like, and then, sells or trades or barters excess meat. Like this is my idol right now. Like, I need to be her. And so
just living the agorist life.
I just like getting it. And then now she's going to probably be homeschooling her kids during this whole thing too. But like, obviously like teaching them how to do things, like how to survive. And, because I think like, there's so much to know, but like, there's so much that you like should know. And I feel like we've lost emphasis on what we should know and things that would be helpful for us and things that would, no matter what, be, good things to live by and fall back on. And that's not to say like, here's the, I love, the like human action, like Austrian economics, like everybody does their own thing, the division of labor, like specialization, like it's good. We need all of that diversity. But I do think like there's so much value in these things that could help us survive. Like if we were living by less means, or if we or significantly, possibly so, like, I don't know, like, because if it's not something that's even thought about or discussed or, I don't know, it's, we've all seen the zombie movie.
Well, what I like, I don't even think of it like, ideally, we shouldn't need to be farmers, but it makes for one hell of a hedge when the world freaks out. Right. Is the idea.
Just gives you options.
Like when
exactly
for some fucking reason stores get weird. We don't need to worry about it. Like when this started happening, I'm like, Liz, pick up up an extra package of meat every time you're at the store. Build us a stock, so I don't need to worry about it. At least we're good for a little while. Like I don't want to live in a post-apocalyptic hellscape, but we don't need to prepare for that necessarily. We can prepare for smaller things. What happens if we have a horrible natural disaster and we can't get out of the house anyways?
Yeah, I mean, like we see on the news just how in complete disarray people are in the aftermath of a storm. And it's not even just destruction. It's just like how to respond, how to react. What's the first step? Like, this is a force of nature. Like it's been happening since the dawn of time, but people just happen to live here.
We're going to get too long and I'm going to have to edit this.
Okay,
so I'm going to say Where do you want to send people to, Maddie?
Well, you can find me with my co-host who you've already met, everybody listening, Jesse. So Jesse and I host the Voluntary Vixens podcast. You can find that on all podcatchers, I think, by now, and also at our website, voluntaryvixens.com. Or you could find us through the mlganetwork.com. We're one of that crew. And so then more hippie Maddie, like I live on Instagram as Voluntary Vinyasa. And so you can find me personally there, but I'm also obviously very active on the Voluntary Vixens Instagram page. Jesse's more active on the other platforms, but like if you ever want to contact actually me, Instagram's probably the place to do it.
You strike me as the kind of person who's trying to cut out the negativity, and that's all Twitter is.
Yeah.
So it's for those of us who like to wallow in the negativity.
Well, I'll go and I don't live on Twitter. I just go and like check out a few things and then spew and regurgitate whatever like drives me the most crazy and that I think people shouldn't be knowing about, and then I get the hell off. Then I come back later. So yeah, but I'm definitely more on Instagram because I just love the idea of
there's less interaction on Instagram.
Images.
Like, just we're all sharing pictures.
Yeah,
just pictures, folks. There's no politics here, just pictures.
I love it. I do hate that Mark Zuckerberg owns it now. But yeah, so anyone, anybody listening, that's where you can find me.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming on here and talking to us. So
yeah, delightful to meet you, Maddie.
Thanks for having me.
all right. What do you think, babe?
I think very cool lady. I'm super excited that we got to speak finally to both of the voluntary vixens, and both very cool ladies, and super stoked that they were willing to come and talk to us.
I like being stoked. I'm excited that you're like as awake as you are right now, because we really pushed this to the end of our Wednesday.
We did, and I keep having difficulties. Well, I guess that's why the sleep schedule thing is coming up. Just I have difficulties like letting go of the day and shutting down to the extent where I get the sleep that I need, which is not great for my enthusiasm the following day.
It's not great for anything, frankly.
No,
but yeah, it was good to talk to them, especially the history that we had of the Vixens, or the history I had with the Vixens, trying to steal them over to my podcast group.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. How is everything in the home front? We might as well get this out. How's the garden doing? How's the homeschooling going?
It's coming along. We've got our winter peas, fall, winter, whatever it is. We've got the peas in. I'm going to keep succession planting those. So hopefully we'll end up with a bunch of fresh ones. And we've also got turnips and carrots and lettuce and a bunch of that other wintry stuff. And the kale has literally been going all summer, and it's a cool season crop generally. So I don't see those going anywhere anytime soon. And then we're just trying to put up the cucumbers, and we've got squash out there. I want to get some seeds out of those. And
I wish I liked kale.
Yeah, I know. We've got so much of it.
I mean, you and Irma are going to be healthy all winter.
Yeah, no, it's really good to know like what grows super well here. And that is definitely one of those things. And we've got like the mystery tree in the front yard. It's probably not really a mystery tree. It's some sort of hazel tree, we're pretty sure. But we've been on all the plant identification apps trying to figure out, like, what is this tree? Like, it looks kind of like a hazelnut tree of some sort, but...
It's definitely a hazelnut, but which kind it is? I mean, it's first off, it's an actual tree. It's not a bush, as they put it.
Yeah, no, this thing's 16 feet tall or something ridiculous. It's huge.
I mean, it's not huge, but for like a hazel bush, that would be huge.
Well, yeah, for a bush, it's humongous. For a tree, it's a young tree. And it's just kind of been in our yard. And last year, it produced some sort of nut, and I thought that was interesting. So this year, we're trying to figure out what it is and how we can make use of it, of them. So yeah, no, it's a fun adventure we find ourselves on. And then we're looking into winter sewing, which is making little greenhouses out of our soda bottles that we have from your addiction, which is finally useful to us. And we're going to use those to grow seedlings throughout the winter. And in theory, that'll give us actual plant starts that are actual young plants by the time of spring next. So that's all very exciting. That would save us a ton of money. And so hopefully we'll have some pictures or updates on that so you can see how that journey's going.
I've been listening to Jack Spirko's survival podcast this week.
Oh, nice.
He got me hooked with Unloose the Goose. And then so I'm like, well, now I got to go back to his podcast and start listening to that.
Oh, it's a good podcast.
I've enjoyed it so far.
It's a darn good podcast.
He's got a personality I like. No nonsense.
He's a very, very knowledgeable dude and a personable dude. And yeah, he's got a good feel to his podcast for sure. I mean,
I get the feeling he's also the kind of dude that's no problem punching you in the face if that's the mood requires.
Oh yeah, I have no doubts about that. And I obviously don't need to tell you all that because half of you probably listen to his show. It's a ridiculously popular show.
It is a pretty popular. How's everything going homeschool front? Have we ever been accepted?
We have not gotten the official letter back from the superintendent, but what we delivered legally is a notification, not a request for permission, because we don't need permission. We are legally allowed to homeschool. We just need to notify him, and if he wants more information, he has 14 days, which I'm pretty sure has already lapsed, to request more information. So at this point, we are just awaiting that acknowledgement letter. It's not an approval letter, it's an acknowledgement legally. And we're just pushing ahead with our plan. We're doing some fun stuff. There's been a lot of adjustments because it's more structured than it was, but we'll see. And we're going to be flexible about what we're using,
That's you've been researching like different milk shares and stuff since we had there's a bit of a story there. Like, what do you tell us about the milk share this week?
I mean, no shade on the place we were getting our milk from. I've gotten into just the interest in having things very natural. So I went to find a herd share that we could get our milk from locally, and came across this nice family that has that going on. But it was just an interesting vibe about the place that I didn't quite understand until I realized recently that they were more connected to the kind of the Rudolf Steiner school of thought.
You were terrible at telling stories, Lizzie.
Okay, well,
because this story really goes, the husband asked me if I'd be interested in joining their one-room schoolhouse thing they're doing once a week for Irma.
Yeah.
And, you in the middle of the night spring this on me, hey, do you think like the kid, we could do this? And I'm like, well, you're going to need to give me a lot more information than that. So I don't even understand why you brought me this little bit of information.
Right, because I tend to want to bounce things off of,
Yeah, but I just want you to bring me the information and then I give you a yes or no.
Feel out how I feel about it. Because I tend to feel obligated if I go through the trouble of asking for more information. But I actually did ask for more information and found out it was a, Rudolf Steiner Waldorf thing. And his philosophies are not all bad, but there's a lot of not great stuff that came out of them. So
he didn't like brown people as the moral of the story.
Most certainly, yeah, did not have high expectations or hopes for brown people and not a lot of good things to say about bothering to educate them and whatnot. So not super cool because of that. And then there's a lot of occultic stuff that he was also very, very interested in. And also not really something I'm terribly, keen on having in our kids' educational experience. So we're
at least until Dad gets in there and he's like, no, this is where all the weird stuff comes from, sweetie.
I mean, I at least trust you to be able to have an even, approach to it. You understand all of the history of all of the religions. You have a background that you can at least approach things in a respectful way. I'm not really sure what other people are doing and where they're coming from.
Right.
And I have a relationship with you where I can say, hey, knock that off. So
stop scaring the shit out of the kid.
Yeah, basically.
Well, one thing I want to note, I am almost done with Cthulhu Country. And by next episode, I will have my definitive position on Cthulhu Country. And
Yeah. Probably not going to be like a giant thumbs up, I don't think.
I'll have things to say.
Yeah, I bet. But yeah, so that's the forefront there. But I actually, in looking for another herd share, came across a guy that I'd apparently had a conversation with about 2 years ago. Before I'd really done a lot of research into the nutrition and why a herd share is really important.
How do you know this? Did he like say, "Hey, I remember you from 2 years ago"? Or he was just like, not that many black people talk to me?
No, I literally have no. No. In my account, I literally have the email exchange that we had. And, I was kind of not, I probably came across as flaky, but I wasn't really flaky at the time. I just didn't really have a lot of conviction about why I wanted to do it. Cause I was kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting information. Thanks so much. And that was kind of it. But I have a lot more information now. So I'm like, yeah, no, this is happening. I'm already schlepping across town to make this happen. So, you already seemed like a good source to me, apparently. We should make this happen. So it's nice to be able to continue that relationship that apparently got put on hold there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that is the state of things here. I can't wait to hear from y'all next week. I might say stop on over to peacefreaks.com for the show notes or any of the other stuff that you want to know about us. Also, I'm told that this makes a difference and that I've been not doing it for all this time. But if you're listening, you enjoy what we're doing, you think we're giving you good content, things to listen to while you're in the car, pissed off at people. That's what I do. I listen to things while I'm pissed off at people. So why don't you head on over to wherever it is that you listen to your podcast or iTunes, whatever. I would love reviews. More importantly, I'd love reviews that update to what are actually we're talking about in the podcast. Because I'm pretty sure most of the reviews on there still say we're a music podcast. Do you remember when we were a music podcast, Liz? I barely remember that.
Yeah, I totally do. And it was awesome that we got reviews. But yeah, it's kind of a little different than what's out there now.
Because it would absolutely help us grow the show. And I really want to grow the show. I want to make the community. I love my communities. Maybe it's because I was like such an outcast in high school in my head that like I just like to have the people and the being involved with each other, So we would love it if you would go and rate and review the show so much. Otherwise, have yourselves a good one, folks. Take it easy. Peace.
Make it magical.
This podcast is a proud creation of the Mad Audio Lab. For more information, check out madaudiolab.com. Peace Freqs is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out Homesteads and Homeschools, Free Markets Green Earth, Cannabis Heals Me, and This Week in Liberpods. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.